darling heart. Welcome to the Drink Less, Live Better podcast. This is the podcast that helps you to see that drinking less doesn't need to be stressful, lonely, or boring. I'm your host, Sarah Williamson, and I decided to have a year alcohol-free as a little life experiment and haven't looked back. With my experience and training, I now help other people with their alcohol-free or drink less adventures. You can find out more and sign up to my 5-day Drink Less challenge at drinklesslivebetter.com. I'm here to tell you that you can relax, connect, and have fun without alcohol in your life. Join me here each week to find out how. Today, we're going to talk about moments of bliss, but that comes in a moment. I think we've put a high expectation on ourselves to be happy, and also perhaps a high expectation on other people around us to be happy. How often have you heard those words, "Oh, I just want my kids to be happy"? Let's say it again. I just want my kids to be happy. Saying the word just makes it seem as if it's a really simple thing to want. And the word happy, well, sometimes that's a really big ask too. It's a big ask for people around us, and it can be an enormous ask for ourselves. I've come to realise that happiness for me is a really elevated feeling. I spend a lot of my life being content, which is my very favourite feeling. I'd also describe it as feeling okay, feeling fine, feeling middling. All of this I'm so delighted with. Happiness is something that I experience in really short bursts. It could be when I'm sitting at the table with friends and family, in that moment where somebody shares a joke and we all laugh, or it could be a shared connection with a friend on a dog walk. All sorts of different things make me feel happy, but I recognise that happiness is quite a short-lived feeling, and most of the time I'm not living my life feeling always happy. And do you know what? I'm fine with that. I think that knowing my favourite feeling is contentment has brought me a lot of peace. It's taken me a while to come round to figure this out. I think for a while I saw contentment as being too close to boredom or fed up, but in fact it isn't that at all. And boredom and feeling a bit fed up are actually getting more and more comfortable for me the further along I go in my sobriety. So anyway, moments of bliss. I've got 2 different moments of bliss that I'd like to tell you about today. The first one struck me completely out of the blue. It was towards the end of last summer. I'd say it was probably late August time, maybe even early September. My boys were playing football on the field in their team, having a normal match. I can't even remember whether the score was going our way or not. They were towards the opposite side of the pitch from where I was sitting, and I was sitting on the grass. Baxter, my dog, was curled up around my leg. I had a coffee in a takeaway mug that I had bought from home, and I was wearing a really colourful pair of leggings. The sky was that gorgeous late summer bright blue with not a cloud in sight. The temperature was warmish. I do remember I was wearing a t-shirt and a sweater and a scarf, so it wasn't hot. I remember turning my face towards the sun and suddenly feeling this enormous whoosh, this feeling that washed completely up and over me, and it stayed for a while. I had my eyes open, but I closed them. I took a really deep breath in and a breath out, and I opened my eyes again and I looked around at this perfect moment. The feeling probably lasted for about 30 seconds, and I enjoyed it whilst I was in it, and I knew it was going to slip away again, but in that moment it was pure lightness and pleasure. And in that moment I thought, I'm always going to remember this moment. I did take a photo of Baxter, of the football field, of my leggings. I'm going to scroll back through my phone and see if I can find it and post it in Instagram with the cover of this podcast. It was a moment that I think of now as shorthand when I go to, what does bliss feel like? That is what bliss feels like. I had another experience of a moment of bliss about 8 weeks or so ago. I went somewhere for the night by myself and had a really lovely stay. And the next morning after I'd had breakfast, I had walked into the lounge and there were some lovely books out on the bookshelves, and I had the book I was reading in my hand, and there was an armchair facing a window in a sunbeam, and I made a beeline over to this armchair and I sat down in it and I put my book on the floor and I just closed my eyes and I felt that sunshine beating on my eyelids. For a moment I stared really hard at the insides of my eyelids and I looked at all of the different colours and I slowed my breathing down, and I was just there in that moment by myself experiencing another amazing moment. Took a photo of that chair as well. I'll try and find that in my thousands of pictures on my phone and post that in the same place. Those are two of my moments of bliss, both experienced in the last year, both experienced by myself, both experienced where sunshine featured, both where colour was a feature, and both where the sounds around me were happy noises of children, birdsong, silence. In those moments, I felt 100% everything that I was supposed to feel, and it was lovely. This time of year, there are so many elevated feelings, both positive and feelings that we might regard as negative or perhaps uncomfortable, and that is okay. Be on the lookout for the last bit of this year and in 2023 and 2024 for your moments of bliss. See if you can catch them. They might be fleeting, but see if you can, in the moment, hold on to them so that you can remember them going forward. Check out the show notes on this podcast or any other episode. You'll find details about the Drink Less, Live Better 2023 retreat. You'll see the link to a hidden podcast episode to help you with your 5 p.m. cravings, and you'll be able to read about my one-to-one coaching program. I'd love it if you could follow and download the podcast, and if you feel inclined to leave a review, that'd be lovely as well. Thank you for listening in today. Come back again next week, and P.S. I believe in you.